So good afternoon. This is a very important subject, and it's happening, I think, at a critical time. And this is a very different period than we've experienced. We have to do something about it. We now have to do something. We have to act. We can't wait and play games and nothing gets done. And I really believe that the people, this is bipartisan, it's a bipartisan meeting, and we're going to discuss safe schools, and we can really get there, but we have to do it. We don't want to wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and people sort of forget, and then we go back on, and then we have another problem. We want to stop the problems from having. So as we continue to mourn the loss of so many precious young lives in Parkland, Florida, we're determined to turn our grief into action. I really believe that. I think that the people at this table want it. I mean, I see some folks that don't say nice things about me, and that's okay. Because if you turn that into this energy, I'll love you. I don't care. We're gonna be able to do it. Sadly, these horrible mass shootings are nothing new. I asked for just a list of, I mean, you look at Columbine, Colorado, Bill Clinton was president. Virginia Tech, George Bush. Fort Hood, Sandy Hook, San Bernardino, Pulse nightclub, and so many more. It's ridiculous. So today we're here in a bipartisan fashion to show leadership in an effort to end this senseless violence. It can be ended, and it will be ended. First, we must harden our schools against attack. These include allowing people with a certified training, very talented people, to carry firearms. And some people are going to disagree with that, and I understand that. I fully understand that. And if you do, I want you to speak up today, and we'll listen. But 98% of all mass shootings in the United States since 1950 have taken place in gun-free zones, where guns were not inside the school. Or, as an example, you take Pulse nightclub. If you had one person in that room that could carry a gun and knew how to use it, it wouldn't have happened, or certainly not to the extent it did, where he was just in there shooting and shooting and shooting, and they were defenseless. So just remember that. 98% of all mass public shootings in the United States since 1950 have taken place in gun-free zones. It's terrible. You've got to have defense, too. You can't just be sitting ducks. And that's exactly what we've allowed people in these buildings and schools to be. Second, we have to confront mental health. There's never been a case that I've ever seen, I'm sure everybody would feel the same, where mental health was so obviously 39 different red flags. I mean, everybody was seeing them. The local police, the state police, the FBI, everybody was seeing that this guy was sick and nothing happened. Third, we have to ensure that when students, educators, family, neighbors, that when they warn authorities, that the authorities act quickly and decisively, unlike what took place in Florida, which was horrible. Fourth, we have to pursue common sense measures that protect the rights of law-abiding Americans while keeping guns. And we have to keep the guns out of the hands of those that pose the threat. And this really includes background checks. And I know, Senator, that you're working on things. Joe, I know you're working, and I mean, I'm looking at a number of the folks around the table. You're working on different bills. We have to get them. We have to get them done. We have to get them done, and they have to be strong. The background checks. Hey, look, I'm the biggest fan of the Second Amendment. Many of you are. I'm a big fan of the NRA, but I had lunch with them, with Wayne and Chris and David, on Sunday, and said, "It's time. We got to stop this nonsense. It's time." So we've made suggestions to many of you, and I think you're going to put a lot of those suggestions in. Plus, you're going to have your own ideas. Certain ideas sound good, but they're not good. You know, you can harden the site to a level that nobody can get in. The problem is if the shooter's inside, and if he gets in the door and closes the door, and we can't get people in, it's going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars all over the country, and we'll have nice hard sites. The door closes, and now we can't get in. have to send a tractor through the walls. So we have to be careful of that. And we have to create a culture that cherishes life and human dignity. So we're going to all sit around. We're going to come up with some ideas. Hopefully we can put those ideas in a very bipartisan bill. It would be so beautiful to have one bill that everybody could support, as opposed to, 15 bills, everybody's got their own bill. But if we could have one terrific bill that everybody, started by the people around this table, special people. These are the people that seem to be just most interested, very interested in this problem, and it's a big problem. And I'm going to write that out, because we can do that with an executive order. I'm going to write the bump stock, essentially write it out. So you won't have to worry about bump stock. Shortly, that'll be gone. We can focus on other things. Frankly, I don't even know if it would be good in this bill. It's nicer to have a separate piece of paper where it's gone, and we'll have that done pretty quickly. They're working on it right now, the lawyers. Go ahead. And John, Fixed Nicks has some really good things in it, but it would be nice if we could add everything onto it. And maybe you change the title, all right? The U.S. background check bill or whatever. But your bill is really good and really important, having to do with a certain aspect. But maybe we could make it much more comprehensive and have one bill instead of 15 different bills that nobody knows what's happening.
If we can get 60 votes for it, Mr. President,
I think
I'm all
you can.
for it.
Honestly, I think, look, I really believe this is one of the things where you can actually get the 60 votes, and maybe easily. And we have to do something about the mentally ill not being able to buy a gun. I mean, they have so many checks and balances that you can be mentally ill and it takes you 6 months before you can prohibit it. So we have to do something very decisive. Number one, you can take the guns away immediately from people that you can adjudge easily are mentally ill, like this guy. The police saw that he was the problem. They didn't take any guns away. Now, that could have been policing. I think they should have taken them away anyway, whether they had the right or not. But I'll tell you this, you have to have very strong provisions for the mentally ill. Now, a lot of people are saying, I shouldn't be saying that. I'll tell you what, I don't want mentally ill people to be having guns. So you have a case right now where somebody can buy a handgun at 21.
Right.
Now, this is not a popular thing to say in terms of the NRA, but I'm saying it anyway. I'm going to just have to say it. But you can't buy, think of it. You can buy a handgun. You can't buy one. And you have to wait till you're 21. But you can buy the kind of weapon used in the school shooting at 18. I think it's something you have to think about.
Would you sign that?
So I'll tell you what, I'm going to give it a lot of consideration, and I'm the one bringing it up. And a lot of people don't even want to bring it up because they're afraid to bring it up. But you can't buy a handgun at 18, 19, or 20. You have to wait till you're 21. But you can buy the gun, the weapon used in this horrible shooting at 18. You are going to decide. The people in this room pretty much are going to decide. But I would give very serious thought to it. I can say that the NRA is opposed to it. And I'm a fan of the NRA. There's no bigger fan. I'm a big fan of the NRA. They want to do it. These are great people. These are great patriots. They love our country. But that doesn't mean we have to agree on everything. It doesn't make sense that I have to wait till I'm 21 to get a handgun, but I can get this weapon at 18. I don't know. So I was just curious as to what you did in your bill.
We
didn't
address it, Mr. President. Look, I think
You know why? Because you're afraid of the NRA, right? And was there offensive firepower on the inside of those facilities so that when the gunman comes in, we have defensive capability? And one other thing, if he knew there was offensive power inside of the 14 events, probably none of them would have happened. A lot is up to the states, and that's good. And the states are going to feel differently. Texas, as an example, is very much as to what I'm saying, and you've done very well. You haven't had
8
this
states,
problem.
6 more considering.
So we have 8 states, yeah, and we have another 6 or 7 or 8 considering. And that's okay, and you may be different and you may have a very good thing for your state. So I don't think the states have to be the same. What does have to be the same are the background checks and all of the data, whether it's Fixed Nicks or all of the things that we're going to be adding. That has to be very much the same. You have to be able to share with states and share with localities and all of that. But I agree with you. I do think this. I think that some states are different. Some states are going to do what Texas does, and some states don't want that program. I think it's a good program, but some states don't want that program. The reason I like it is that I really believe it's going to prevent it from ever happening, because they are cowards, and they're not going in when they know they're going to come out dead. They're not going into a school when they know they're going to come out dead. When you look at this guy in Florida, he walked out with everybody like it was a fire drill. He walked out and he got away. And a policeman did a fantastic job 2 towns away. That policeman wasn't given much credit, but he found him. He saw him, and he looked like the description, and he got him. That was a great job. So we have to give them some credit, because this was not the finest day. This man, and probably 2 or 3 others, Marco, were not exactly very good. They didn't do their job very well. I just don't think you're going to get it approved. You're not going to get concealed carry approved. Amy and Diane
You're right.
and a lot of other people, people may consider, they're never going to consider it, but people may consider it, but they're not going to consider it in this bill. All it's going to mean, if you
We
add,
don't want to do away with gun-free zones.
as far as
Because
I'm
the gun-free
concerned, I
zone
would, and I would do it
goes
with the
away when
military.
I walk in.
In fact, I'm looking to get rid of gun. 5 incredible soldiers, 3 of whom were championship shooters, that were nowhere near their gun, and this whack job walked in and killed all of them. And they were defenseless, and if they had their guns, he would have been gone in a
And
second.
every time
In the possession
Or
of that
might
individual.
take the firearms first and then go to court, because that's another system. Because a lot of times, by the time you go to court, it takes so long to go to court to get the due process procedures. I like taking the guns early, like in this crazy man's case that just took place in Florida. He had a lot of firearms. They saw everything. To go to court would have taken a long time. So you could do exactly what you're saying, but take the guns first, go through due process second. So let me just ask this, Chris and John, are you better off having a one-off bill, or can you merge it into Joe and Pat's bill? Because I like that much better, having a comprehensive bill. Some people don't like the word comprehensive when they talk. I like the word comprehensive. You know, they say, oh, that's a bad word, because it represents things. I mean, to me, I like the word comprehensive. I'd rather have a comprehensive bill. Can you merge yours into this bill, or would you rather have a separate mix bill?
Mr. President, the most important thing you said at the outset is that we act,
You have to act.
and we don't go home
Yeah.
empty-handed. So
But
whatever
you know
we
what, it
can
would
do
be
to
nice
work
to act,
together to act.
yeah, but it would really be nice to create something that's beautiful, that works.
I think
And
we-
you know the biggest thing, Chris, the biggest surprise to me, because I've only been doing this for 2 years, right? 3 years now, time flies. But I've been here for a little more than a year. What surprises me more than anything else is that nothing's been done for all these years. Because I really see a lot of common ground, whether it's Democrat, Republican. I'm so surprised. I'm sitting here and I'm saying, you know, there's a lot of commonality here. There's a lot of people that are agreeing with pretty much everything you guys are writing and that you guys are writing. I don't understand why this hasn't happened for the last 20 years. Nothing's happened. So we're going to get it done. I think Congress is going to be fine. I really do. If we can come up with something that's very strong, very heavy with mental illness, very heavy in every... The background checks are so important. People are afraid to do background checks because you're afraid of somebody. And you know what? You're going to be more popular if you do. But if you have a strong, good, I don't care who's endorsing you or not endorsing, you're going to be more popular if that's what you're into. I'm not into popularity. I'm into getting something done that's good. I don't want to just get it done. We got to get something good that's done. Let's do it properly. So if I could just sum up, Chris and John, Pat, Joe, maybe you could all get together. You'll start it from that standpoint. Other people, Diane, you have some very good ideas. We all have, I think everybody, Marco, I know you have a lot. Fellas, if you could all get together, if we could put in one great piece of legislation, Chuck, I think that you're going to have an amazing result in the vote. The votes are hard to get in Congress. That's what's been happening. You're going to have an amazing result. People are going to be shocked to see the number. It's not going to be 60. It's going to be way above 60. And it may be a number that nobody would even believe. People want to see something happen. But they want to see something good happen too, not just another piece of, I mean, you didn't pass anything, let alone some good stuff. We want to pass something great. And to me, something great has to be where you stop it from happening. And I think there's only one way. But again, if you feel not to have that, you understand. I want a counter. I want a very strong counterpunch. Because if you have a strong counterpunch, they're not going in and you're not going to have this problem anymore. Remember the 98% figure. 98% of these attacks, gun-free zones. No backlash. No death to them. Death to everybody else. But if you four could get together and do something and maybe set the foundation, add to the foundation where some of the great things said, we would have, we're gonna have a bill. Steve, it's very hard to add the one thing that you want. I mean, I will tell you, I'm a fan.
It's still worth considering.
Let's consider it for a
And it
separate bill.
increases safety.
We'll
Data
consider it
shows
for a
increases
separate bill.
safety.
But again, we also want things that can be approved. You have to look at the age of 21
No problem.
for certain types of weapons. I mean, some people aren't gonna like that, but you're gonna have to look at that very seriously. And I think we're gonna have a vote. I think it's gonna be a very successful vote, and I will sign it. And I will call whoever you want me to if I like what you're doing, and I think I like what you're doing already. But you can add to it. But you have to be very, very powerful on background checks. Don't be shy. Very strong on mentally ill. You have to be very, very strong on that. And don't worry about bump stock. We're getting rid of it where it'll be out. I mean, you don't have to complicate the bill by adding another 2 paragraphs. We're getting rid of it. I'll do that myself because I'm able to. Fortunately, we're able to do that without going through Congress. So, if the 4 of you could work together and come up with some beautiful foundation, add and subtract to it, put it for a vote, let's get it done. That's what we have to do.